Hi, I'm Dana, and this is Otis. I don't feel like I introduce him, but he is in nearly every video now, isn't he? So this is Oatman, and today I really want to talk about special interests, because I feel like it's one of the topics that like really comes up a lot, to be like, this is a thing that all autistic people experience, which is pretty rare because we're all vastly different people, and it does feel like special interests are sort of the one trait that like everybody has, and like our special interests can be vastly different from each other. But I think that we still feel the same feelings around them a lot of the time. I could also totally be wrong about that. These videos are all very much based on me and my experience and my thoughts. Very little research goes into these unless I say otherwise, okay? But I wanted to take this video to talk about some of my special interests and the way that I feel about my special interests more than anything, as a way of both like relating to other autistic people and sort of educating perhaps other people that aren't autistic. I feel like up until now only other autistic people have watched my videos, and we've had this little influx of new people, and I feel like you're not all autistic, which is, I wasn't expecting that. Nice to have you. So the main reason that this video has come around though is that I'm, for the first time in my life, in a living situation that feels reasonably safe, you know? Like, for the most part, I get to choose exactly who is around me and who's like in my life. I'm not stuck with people that are making me feel bad about my special interests. I'm not being made to feel like I'm a child for having them. You know, like, it's the first time in my life that I'm not being ashamed of anything. So I should start off, I think, with the fact that for me, my special interests have always been very like media focused. I need characters, I need a story, I need lore. So it's very much like movies, TV shows. It was books when I was younger, and I have recently read a series that I really, really adored. But as an adult, I'm not the biggest reader. I do want to get back into it, but I haven't really yet. So for as long as I can remember, I have really, really like beyond adored movies and TV shows, like specific ones, obviously, not just like any media. And it's always felt a lot like a sort of like double-edged sword, because on the one hand, I have these things that I can sit down and watch, and they bring me such joy and comfort and excitement and like all of the good, positive, nice feelings, you know? But as soon as I started to like info dump about it, or even just like having been in a couple of relationships, literally a couple, I've had 2 relationships, and both of my partners were people that made me feel really silly and infantilized over my special interests in different ways. And it was always like extremely disheartening to invite people such as those, or friends or family members, to experience my special interest with me and be made to feel like I should be ashamed for it, or like I'm doing something wrong in some way for enjoying something so much. And especially being someone who predominantly fixates and has special interests within media, like my personal ones are Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who. I have other ones that come and go, and like I'm really into Our Flag Means Death and What We Do in the Shadows at the minute. They are like the only things I think about a lot of the time. Like, things come and go, but they're sort of also always there, you know? Like, I was absolutely obsessed with Ashes to Ashes at one point. Like, I thought about it like 27,000 times a day, and I don't think about it that often anymore. I think about it maybe like a couple of times a week, but at some point that's going to come back, and it's going to be all I want to watch and all I think about and all I talk about, and it's a beautiful, beautiful moment when that happens. And that's sort of where I'd invite people in to experience it as well, and they just don't feel the same as I do. You know, I've had a lot of people that have made me feel really silly for spending as much time watching things as I do, and have made me really feel like I'm like wasting my life in front of a screen. And it's like, yeah, I'm aware that watching stuff isn't the most productive thing I could possibly be doing, but also when it makes me feel this much like joy and happiness, and like, you know, it's difficult to put into words, because it does, like, I can feel it, like, you know, like there is like a pressure and like a weight that is lifted off my chest when I get to engage or talk about my special interests. And I don't think neurotypical people entirely realise that, like, when one of my special interests like comes back, or when I get to just engage in one that's always there, like when there's a new season of Doctor Who out, it's such an intense feeling, you know? Like, I would probably imagine it's similar to like how neurotypical people feel when they see their best friend that they haven't seen in years, and they get to like reunite and they're as close as they ever were. Like, that warm, happy, comfortable, like everything is perfect and everything's going to be okay and everything's good right now. That feeling that like I feel like neurotypical people do tend to get from big events and like things like that, I can gain from watching an episode of a TV show. Like, that's beautiful and amazing, and I don't get why people think of it as being a bad thing, or think of it as being weird, or try to like infantilise me and make me feel silly for it, when it is such an incredibly, incredibly positive thing. But it's also the thing of like, I have felt so disconnected from people when I have invited them in, and even if they're not necessarily like mean about it, even if they're not trying to make me feel bad about it, like, I don't expect people to like it as much as I do. But there's also like a look on their face where I'm just like, we are so not the same. Like, I don't understand how people just kind of like stuff, you know? Like, I'm watching Gilmore Girls with a friend at the minute, and it's one of those where, like, to me, I'm sort of like, I'm just watching it because my friend likes it, and I was like, I've always sort of intended to watch it and know what it's about, so I'm happy enough to watch it with them, you know? It's a fun, like, friend experience, and I was gonna eventually probably get around to it anyway. But talking to other people that are, like, very casual viewers of it, that aren't currently rewatching it or anything, I'm like, oh shit, like, even when I think that I'm casually into something and not that bothered about it, the knowledge that I absorb over it and the way that I feel about the characters and the plot lines and stuff is the equivalent of a neurotypical person talking about their favourite, all-time favourite show that they adore, you know? Like, the level to which I love my favourite shows is so different. And I feel like when I've tried to talk about this in the past, I get a lot of people that are like, I enjoy things too, you're not the only one that likes things. And it's not this, like, gatekeepery fandom thing that I'm trying to do. Like, it's not like a, I love this thing more than you. I just want people to like things. Like, I'm so over all of that fandom gatekeeping stuff. But, like, the people I've had these situations with, it's just, like, objectively, like, I'll be like, oh, have you watched the new season? And they're like, oh, no, is it out? And I'm like, how do you not know that it's out? Like, I've already watched the entire season. I've been staying up until, like, 4 a.m. on every Tuesday night to make sure that I catch the new episode as soon as I can in the UK. And you're like, oh, there's a new season. And that's a show that they genuinely enjoy, you know? Like, I'm not saying that I like it more in the way of, like, I'm a bigger fan, I'm a better person. I'm saying it in the way of, like, I like things so intensely that unless you're another, you know, that unless you're another autistic person who also has a special interest in this thing, I just do love it more. And it, quite frankly, I think has scared people in the past, you know? Like, when they're sitting down to watch a show and be like, oh yeah, I really love this show. And I'm sitting down in tears because I'm so excited for it to come on. And I'm like, I love these characters more than I love my literal blood related family. Like, I would die for these characters if they were real, you know. And that's another one, is having the moments where I realise that characters aren't real. And I've gotten a lot better with this because obviously I understand when fiction exists and the like, but I've had, like, some of the darkest moments of my fucking life have happened because of special interests, especially with, like, Keely Hawes and Jodie Whittaker, when they've played characters, like, when people have played characters that I really, really adore, but they're really good actors, and then you go and watch interviews and the character, like, is not there, that fucks me up. That absolutely fucks me up. And, like, my rational, normal, like, person brain is aware that it's a fictional fucking show and they're playing a character and they're an actor and that's the point of it. But there's this, like, autism special interest part of my brain that cannot comprehend that, like, these characters and these people, to me, like, I know they're characters, but to me they are also very much people, and having to fully rationalise and realise that, like, that person's not real. Even if I meet the person that portrays them, the person that, like, physically looks exactly like them, they're not there. Like, I know it sounds kind of silly because I do have this, like, rational, self-aware part of my brain, but, like, the emotional side, the side of me that just, like, gets so connected to these characters and these plots, like, I can't fully wrap my head around the fact that those people aren't real. Like, you know? I feel like I'm making myself sound a little bit insane. It's like, I can, but I can't, if you get what I mean. But like I said at the start, this is sort of the first time in my life that I've been in a position where I have a lot of my own time, I have a lot of my own space, I can set a lot of my own boundaries, and that means that I've relaxed in a lot of ways, and it's kind of, like, been a really sad thing to realise that for the last, like, 10, 11, 12 years, easily, maybe longer, my special interests haven't been things that have been bringing me this joy. You know, they haven't been things that have been bringing me these, like, extremely positive feelings. They've been just comfort things. They've just been things that make me feel a bit better. And I didn't realise, because my base level for the last, like, you know, over a decade has been just very low mood, not feeling good, not feeling safe, not feeling like I'm safe with the people that I'm around, not feeling like I'm respected by the people I'm around. You know, it's just been, we're not attacking Ali. It just, for a very long time, was a bad time, and I was still indulging in my special interest, and if anything, like, really used them as a crutch more so than anything, and really needed them more than ever, because they offer so much comfort. And they, you know, like, it's one of those things where, like, I genuinely don't know what I would have done without some of the shows that I watch and some of the movies I enjoy. You know, like, I was watching Drop Dead Fred, like, 3 or 4 times a day for, I want to say it was 3 or 4 times a day for about 6 months, and then after that it was like once or twice a day, and like it literally soothed me from like anything, you know, whatever horrible, like my dad dying kind of thing, like any horrible thing that happened to me, I could watch Drop Dead Fred and suddenly I wasn't on the edge anymore, you know, still felt like shit but wasn't about to leave the planet. So as much as I am like, oh thank God I had that, I'm so glad I had that, I'm so glad that I am the kind of person that was enough for me, you know, there's also the side of me that's now like really, really sad, because I'm like, I've never experienced the joy that I'm currently experiencing from my special interests and from the things that I enjoy, because I'm in a place of safety. I'm in a place where I can genuinely enjoy them. I can, you know, I can message my friends and be like, they've posted behind the scenes pictures, look at this, and I can just info dump on it, and I don't have to worry that I'm annoying people or that they don't like me or that, like, you know, there's no worry there. I'm very aware that I can just spit out shit about my special interests and have people be like, cool Dana, nice. You know, they might not get it, they might not be like as invested as they ideally would be in the perfect world where I would have all of my friends be interested in the exact same things as me, let's face it. But you know, it's the respect and like the genuine, like they're happy for me and I'm happy and it's all good. And I feel like I do need to also point out that I engage with my friends' special interests and listen to them info dump about it, and also genuinely enjoy hearing them. It's not just me doing it, it's not a one-sided thing, and I do think you need to be careful of that kind of thing. But also, like, damn, like special interest should have been this fun and this great and this freeing and this just like all around positively brilliant thing the whole time. It should have been like that all the time. And as much as I've pushed it as like a really positive thing, because I do think that, at least for me, my special interests are absolutely vital to me being a happy and healthy and functioning person. I would not get through my day-to-day life without my special interests, quite frankly. But the other side of that is that I think about my special interests all the time. And I've had to do a lot of holding back and not talking about them. And it does mean that, like, I had a conversation with my friend the other day where I was like, I'm so sorry to talk about Doctor Who that much, but, and after I was finished, they were like, oh, nice, cool, like, blah, blah, blah. You don't talk about Doctor Who that much, though. And I was like, no, but I do, because everyone's always complained about that. So I stopped talking about Doctor Who. And now, even though I have people that would be completely happy and, like, really, like, I've got friends that have actively asked me to rewatch Doctor Who with them and like tell them the fun little behind the scenes bits and everything. Like, I have people who are willing to fully engage in my special interest with me, and I can't imagine anything fucking worse. Like, engaging in like Gilmore Girls and Good Omens and Our Flag Means Death and things like that with my friends has been like so fun and freeing and fantastic and brilliant. I really enjoyed like I got to cosplay with my friend. I'm gonna put that here actually. I cosplayed as Crowley the Xeophil, my best friend, and we looked amazing together, and it's so much fun. And it's this like absolute release of like the like can't be cringe thing that I grew up with, and especially on the internet. You know, like my special interests have freed my personality in so many ways and like formed the person I am, and they're fantastic and they're brilliant. But I also like very genuinely cannot stop thinking about them when I'm really into them, you know. And there's times when I don't like, there's times that I'm not like into a special interest as much. Like, I always have my interests, but sometimes I don't have the one thing that I'm like brain focused on, and that sucks. Like, first off, like it really, like, I feel like a drained empty shell when I don't have something to like fixate on and be interested in. It's a really odd situation for me, and it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's very uncomfortable and weird. But we are talking like, I can't watch other TV shows without seeing things that I feel like that I'm able to like pattern recognition relate back to my special interest. Every song I will switch, like I switch up my music quite regularly to exclusively be listening to things that relate back to my special interest. Like, I've just gotten it, like literally right now I'm saying like, I'm really into Our Flag Means Death. I'm really listening to Flight of the Conchords and the Uncle soundtrack because it's got Con O'Neill and Rhys Darby related to those things. Like, I completely switch up so much of like my base interest to match up with my special interest, and I've learned to do it in a way that like brings me joy and is a good thing. Like, listening to a bit of different music is not a negative in any way. But when I was younger, and like not even that much younger, we are talking like 2, 3, 4 years ago kind of thing, I would start switching up like my entire personality. I could not have a special interest, and especially as someone who like fixates on media, I could not have a character that I was obsessed with without just trying to become that character. You know, and I'm not talking like a fun little bit of cosplay. I'm talking like during my Ashes to Ashes obsession. If you go back on my channel, like I was in the midst of it when I was starting this channel. I was dressing up as Alex Drake. I bought the exact jacket that they had in the show. I was buying all sorts of like vintage 80s stuff and like transforming my day-to-day life to be literally more difficult to try and make it more like the 80s. you know, in some ways, I do think that, like, because I've done this a lot with various different characters, they're all sort of a part of my personality, and I'm like an assortment of like the best parts of my favourite people kind of thing. And especially as someone who grew up with like a not very good family and had to learn like don't be racist from Doctor Who and shit like that, you know, like a lot of my like base morals and beliefs and the things that I think are right and wrong have come from the things that I consume and my special interests rather than the people around me, as I feel is for a lot of people. And as much as I do feel like I've settled and I've like found the me that is like made up of all of those things rather than trying to create myself from something, if that makes sense, I spent a long time like just trying desperately to be characters. And as much as it was fun because like it was my special interests and I love them and I can be just like them, it was also like crafting new masks for myself all the time, and it was incredibly difficult. And there was also the thing of like I would make myself as much as my favourite characters as I possibly could, like transform so much of myself, and people still didn't like me, you know? And I'd be there like, I have crafted this entire persona based on the character that I love because I think they're brilliant and they're so cool and they're so fun and I want to be just like that. And even though I've done everything I can to be just like that, people still don't like me. So that is the main negative of special interest for me. And although I think that there are plenty of others for other people, I am as always trying to go by my experience and the things I know about. So the final thing that I want to touch on that I do think is a negative for special interests is how spenny they can be. Some of them can be real expensive. And the thing is, I'm not even talking like, you know, I know that like lots of people have special interests in like art and things like that where you're going to be spending a lot of money on supplies. I know that realistically, I don't need to spend any money on my special interests. Like I don't need to own merch to engage in my special interests, you know? And especially like living in the modern world, I don't even need to buy it on DVD anymore like I used to. Like I can I feel very lucky really to have my special interest be so media focused because I can just engage with them anywhere, anytime now. And I do think I appreciate that a little bit more because I grew up with VHS tapes and I'd be out at school and like out and about and just like generally doing things. You know, if I didn't have like my CD Walkman, and even then it's like I had like the Twilight soundtrack and I was obsessed with that, but otherwise I couldn't really cater my music to the things that I was interested in, you know, like living in the modern world has definitely given me the option to like more so mesh and engage with my special interests more regularly and more often and more through the day, which could be seen as a negative I suppose, but I see it as a positive. Like all of those are very positive, but it's the case of like, even though I don't need things, you know, like we have progressed to a point where like I don't need to buy it on CD, I don't need to buy it on DVD, I can just engage with it all the time, I still feel this like extreme need to own merch and to own things from the stuff, you know? And it's silly and I know that I don't need to, but especially having things that are like sort of vaguely kind of niche, like they're not, everybody loves like our flag me stuff and Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who, I know they're not niche, but like in day-to-day life I don't see merch of those things all that often, you know? So when I go to a Comic-Con, every single con that I go to, I'm like, I'm gonna spend 20 quid, 30 quid, you know? I set myself my budget and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna stick to. And then I go to the first stall and I'm like, oh my god, I never get to see stuff of my special interest, and now suddenly here it all is just laid out in front of me and I can just pick and choose and it's all there and it's amazing and it's beautiful and I just fucking buy it all. And then I get home and I'm like, what have I done? I've just spent 80 quid on some fucking badges and candles. I don't know how I'm going to eat now this month. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to buy cat food. Like, I've absolutely fucked up. And it feels like a fucking, like, out-of-body experience or something, you know? Like, as much as, like, that is me doing that, that is my behaviour, I'm facing the consequences, like, I know I did it. It feels like I didn't. It feels like I fucking, like, black out and, like, fandom, like, autism special interest brain takes over and I'm just like, I will die if I don't own these things. Like, I know I won't, but I will. And like, for anyone that needs demonstration, we've got our Flag Needs Death fucking fan art over here. Got a good old fucking Nandor the Relentless candle, which is from Moth and Magpie, and they're really great. I'll link them down below now of showing it, and I'll Bags and Blep do these bits of fan art that I've got, so I'll link those. But you know, it's also the thing of like being just in my room, I get to be surrounded by my what the becoming crazy frog. Oh, it's not on my desk. Oh Christ, this is chaotic. But yeah, like I've got an X-Files blanket over my radiator so it just says X-Files. I've got an Easy Hand sticker there. Like when I'm in my room, all around me is just all of the things that I love, including Oatman. And I've never really had that before. You know, like, I've tried real hard, but I've never been able to create a space that is purely just mine, with no one else is like lording over it, and with adult real money. And like, see, like, even when I'm like, there's negatives because I overspend on merch, and then like, but it's such a positive thing, because like, once I get over the month where I can't eat, then my room is just decorated with all of these bits of my favourite things. I get to like sit in the middle of my special interests and just be surrounded by them all the time, and I've never felt so fucking comfortable and at peace and just content as I do in this room for that fact. You know, like, purely just because I have all of my little bits and bobs of shit. You know, like, it just fills me with like, it doesn't even fill me, it feels like taking a breath properly for like the first time in my entire life. Like, I can't explain to you how many moments I have, especially when, like, at night when I've got like my aesthetic sensory lighting, or I just look around my room and I'm like, this is perfect. Like, this is everything I ever wanted. I've never been so comfortable and at peace, and just, it's perfect. And it's so much because I've gotten to fill it with my special interests, and because of how much my special interests just bring me peace and comfort and happiness and joy, and they make me feel normal, you know? Like, so much going through life, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Oh, it's the autism. Oh God, I'm a freak, I'm a weirdo. And obviously, like, that's aimed at like me as a person. I'm not like, autistic people are weirdos and freaks. I'm the weirdo and the freak. I just do weird things all the fucking time. And I know that it's because I'm autistic, so I'm missing social cues or whatever, but I'm also like, I could learn and do better. Like, other autistic people don't do this shit. I'm the worst at it. But you know, there's a sort of like constant like being on edge and being ready for the next like thing I've done wrong, and like just day-to-day life and being around people and being around like having to be a person is so stressful and difficult. And it's only when I'm engaging with special interests and like surrounded by my special interests, when I'm on my own to a point, that I feel like myself, like I'm a valid real person just as I am, you know. And I am getting better with that. I do think that some degree of that is the trauma that we spoke about earlier in the video, from people being really shitty. Because like, I've had one of my best friends that I had round the other day was like, I know this is autistic joy, but that cat's not getting any attention while you're that absorbed in that. And it was such like a releasing nice moment, because I get that I do that, you know, like, I will be watching my thing and I'm only watching my thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Otis has been staring at me for who knows how long because he would like a cuddle, and my ex would be like, God, pay attention to the fucking cat, why are you being like that? And I'd be like, oh shit, I didn't realise, I'm sorry. And having people being able to like gently prod me and understand why I'm like behaving in the way that I am while it's on, and not judging me for it or being shitty for it, like, it just, I really hope that I am able to like more so share in my special interests with people. And also like cosplaying for Comic-Con was a big step towards being able to do that. I've never cosplayed around people before. Like, I've done my own little outfits in my house that I've and like posted online and then taken off before anyone could see me in real life, you know. But it was a really freeing and really beautiful moment of me sort of stepping forward and being like, I'm really invested in things. I really strongly love things, and I'm not embarrassed about it or ashamed of it anymore. Like, this is just a part of who I am. So yeah, I know that was a bit of a chaotic and disjointed video, but my last couple have been so fucking like serious and draining to make, to be honest with you. I was like, I just need a little bit of something fun, and I'm sure you lot do too. So as always, I post on Thursdays and Sundays if you would like to like the video and subscribe. I love it most when people subscribe. It's my favourite thing people do. And I also post on TikTok and Instagram, and they'll be linked down below if you want to follow me there. I do also sometimes post on Twitter, but you can become a YouTube or a Patreon member if you want to donate to me monetarily every month. Or if you want to make me a little like one-off donation on Ko-fi, that will also be linked down below. But there's absolutely no pressure with those. You do not have to pay me for my content. I will never be someone that like releases like exclusive content for people who pay me. Everything's for everyone. But it'd be really nice if I had more money. So if you do have some and want to donate it to me, you can. But I'm always incredibly fucking awkward when I do this, because I'm just like, we're in a cost of living crisis. Like, if you had money, you'd probably be spending it on eating your house or eating or get yourself a treat. Like, but if you want it to go to me, it can, and you can do that, but you don't have to. And most importantly, I would love to hear about your special interests. I would love to hear what they are. I would love to hear how they make you feel, what kind of experiences that you've had because of your special interests. Just anything to do with them, feel free to just fully info dump, write me an absolute like memoir in the comments. Like, so many of you write me really fun, cool comments that are like really interesting to read, and then you're like, I'm sorry I wrote so much, and I'm like, bitch, you could have written more. Like, I'm so down for reading comments. I'm still shit at replying to them, but I do read them all and genuinely enjoy reading them, and one day I'm gonna be a person that replies to them. Just you wait. But for now, I'm going. My mouth is so dry. So whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.